Welcome to Green Dot Daily. This is Action Network's daily sports betting show, and I'm your host, Maria Marino, coming to you, as I like to do, every weekday at 3 Eastern or on demand on the Action app and YouTube channel. I'm a little sad. College basketball is over, so, that whole thing's a little bittersweet, but we will react to UConn winning its 5th championship in program history. Congrats, by the way, to Dan Hurley and the Huskies. It's also Masters Week. We'll have some notes for you ahead of the tournament, but also we'll get to the really hard-hitting stuff, like what should be on the menu of the Champions Dinner. Yeah, we'll get into all of that. But first, there's less than a week left in the NBA regular season, and the Western Conference playoff picture is just as murky as it's ever been, with 3 games separating the 5th spot and the 10th spot. The top 3 teams have clinched. The Mavericks, by the way, are currently right outside the playoff bubble. We now say hello to Action Network senior writer Matt Moore to help us sort this out. It wouldn't be the first time. And really, the 3 California teams could be doing a lot of shuffling here before season's end, as well as the Pelicans in the 8th spot. Which of the teams in that cluster do you think will actually make the playoffs?
I think a lot of it's going to depend, honestly, on tomorrow night's game between the Lakers and the Clippers. That's a huge game for every team involved. Something to note here is that the Warriors lose basically every tiebreaker scenario. They're in a really rough spot from a tiebreaker scenario, so they desperately need to win out. They also need the Lakers to lose at least tomorrow night because they do lose a tiebreaker to the Lakers. The Pelicans actually have a really good chance of moving up in multi-team tie situations. But if we're talking about what that probability is going to stand here, probably the Warriors win out. Probably the Clippers win out, given the Lakers are on the back-to-back tomorrow. That would put the Clippers in the 5 seed. The Warriors in the 6th. You would probably see the Lakers finish 7th and then the Pelicans in 8th. That's probably the order that it would stand. That's the current order currently. However, tomorrow night's game could shift everything. If the Lakers win tomorrow night, they'll control destiny to secure the 5th seed and face the Suns, KD versus LeBron in a potential first-round matchup. And again, if the Warriors lose one game, there is a very strong likelihood that they're going to be in the play-in, and a very strong likelihood that they're going to be 8th, which means they'll be traveling for the first play-in game for the 7th spot and then be at home to try and clinch the final playoff spot. It could get real dicey for the defending champs to even make the postseason.
It's dicey anytime the Warriors are traveling, but talking about the Lakers, it sounds like you're a little on the fence about where they're going to end up.
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell, honestly, right now, given that they've played so well, but you don't like to believe that a team is going to play great the entire way. If they play great, there's usually a little bit of regression coming. I did talk about this on Buckets, and we're going to go ahead and put it in the Action Network app as well. I've made 2 bets. I bet the Lakers to miss the playoffs at a big number, and I bet them to win the finals at a big number. You got 7.5 to 1 on one side, 13 to 1 on the other. Honestly, this comes down to if the Lakers do make the playoffs, they're going to be as dangerous as any team in it. Anthony Davis can dominate a matchup. He particularly plays well against Nikola Jokic if he faces the Nuggets. He will have LeBron James. They have shooting. They're the second best defense since they made the big trade that changed up their season. They've got a real chance to make a run, but on the other hand, they're inconsistent, and they wind up in the play-in with their injury history. It wouldn't shock me to see them out. So I think if you're betting the Lakers, you need to choose extremes. You either need to go all the way or completely out. I think in the middle might be the most likely scenario, but it's not the most profitable approach for bettors.
Right. Both actually sound like pretty good bets. And a handful of these contenders that we've been talking about in the West will be in action tonight. So how are you betting the NBA slate on this Tuesday?
Yeah, let's start with Thunder Warriors. Love the under here, 242.5. The Warriors' home games this season have gone 59% to the under. We've seen a trend this season where, because the splits are so crazy across the league for home and road performance, the overall numbers for these teams and projections don't factor that in maybe as much as they need to. The Warriors defense, great at home, horrible on the road, but they're home tonight. The Thunder offense is also 21st in the league over the last 2 weeks. Some of that's without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's expected to play tonight. But overall, I think the Thunder may be coming back down to earth offensively after a pretty good stretch in the middle of the season. That puts this, I think, in a pretty good spot. And finally, look, it's a motivation spot. We're going to have a lot of these this week in the NBA. Golden State's got to win this game. They're out of time. That loss on Sunday to the Nuggets without Nikola Jokic like I mentioned earlier, has really put them up against it. They need to win this game. They've got to win this game. If they're going to win it, that means they lock down on defense. So I'll take the under 242.5 Thunder Warriors.
Sounds good. What else you got?
Like Kings Pelicans under 236.5, 2 unders for you today. Under is 60.5% in Kings road games this season. Kind of a similar type of deal. The offense cooks at home, but it's not as good on the road. And honestly, the Kings defense, for whatever reason, plays a little bit better when they're on the road. The Pelicans, meanwhile, have the number 2 defense the past 2 weeks in the NBA. They're very switchable. They've got bigs with Jonas Valanciunas to be able to battle inside versus Sabonis and keep him off of the boards. They've got defenders on the wing like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy to battle against those Kings forwards. Malik Monk's going to miss this game. That takes away a little bit of the scoring punch for the Kings. So I think the Pelicans probably a little bit more motivated in this one. Kings pretty locked into the 3rd seed. I like Kings Pelicans under 236.5.
It's not the postseason yet, but you got to have that postseason mindset when it comes to locking down on defense. So there you go. A couple of unders from Matt Moore. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Moving over to NFL, we're about 3 weeks from the draft, and here are the latest odds for the top picks. Ohio State QB CJ Stroud is the favorite to go number 1. Alabama QB Bryce Young, 2nd overall. And for the 3rd pick, Will Anderson and Anthony Richardson are tied for the shortest odds. Let's welcome in Chad Millman and Simon Hunter from the Favorites podcast to chat some more about this. So 4 of the 5 names we just saw are quarterbacks. I seem to remember, Chad, a couple weeks ago, you clowning on any team that takes Richardson too high. So why don't you explain your philosophy on drafting a quarterback, and particularly in this draft?
Not just clowning on any team taking Richardson too high. I believe what I said was common sense, what you see on the film, what we've seen on the field should dictate that CJ Stroud is the only choice to go number 1. And sure enough, the markets have come around. I believe it's because they were all watching Green Dot Daily and believed in what I was saying. But obviously, this makes sense. Like CJ Stroud, great arm, great accuracy. There were questions about his mobility. Everyone gets excited about having a mobile quarterback until the guy's name is Lamar Jackson and he wants guaranteed money. And then all of a sudden, nobody wants to sign anybody anymore. But that's a different show. CJ Stroud has proven through offseason workouts that he's the consensus number 1 pick. I think it makes total sense. I know Simon feels differently about the talent level and the upside for guys like Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson, but I am not surprised that we've landed with CJ Stroud as the shortest odds to go number 1 overall.
And Simon, how do you feel about this?
I'm good with that. I've moved CJ to my number 1 spot. I think he is worthy of being the number 1 pick. The biggest flaws and what many pros are talking about is why a lot of guys think he could easily be a bust is he's going from arguably one of the best wide receiving cores in all of college football from Ohio State to now he's going to Carolina. I just traded away DJ Moore. They might have major issues there. He's not gonna have anyone to throw to in Carolina, CJ. So we're gonna learn pretty quick if CJ was really that good, or was it just another guy who played at Ohio State that had, Marvin Harrison Jr. and some of the best wide receivers you could possibly ask for in college football. And we've seen that with these Bama quarterbacks. Yes, you could say Jalen Hurts made it all the way to the Super Bowl. He's been by far the best one out of this bunch. But, Tua wasn't much until he got Waddle and a credible Tyreek Hill. We've seen Mac Jones struggle. Now we've seen rumors now Mac Jones is being shopped around by the Patriots. There's a thing about these guys coming from these big level programs that you take away their big weapons they had in college, you put them on an NFL team without them, they tend to struggle. So I'm with CJ being the one. Anyone but Bryce Young. My issue is Bryce Young. He's that guy that falls into, yes, he is incredibly talented. He's just too small. Like Bryce Young at 5'10", 180, running a QB sneak in week 1 makes me laugh. Like, think about this kid trying to run a QB sneak. It just ain't going to work. He's just not built for this league. So I like Bryce Young as a 2nd-round pick. What we're seeing today is Bryce Young's probably going to go 2nd pick overall. So that's one of those I'm probably going to, if Bryce Young works out, I'm going to look like an idiot. I got years of weight on him. Bryce Young's not going to come in the NFL and light it up. He's going to take a couple years. You need to put on body weight. So to me, CJ should be number 1. I got Anthony Richardson as number 2, and I got Bryce as number 3. So, not surprising that an NFL team wants to take Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson. I just think the upside of Anthony Richardson is so much higher. It's who cares what a guy can do in year 1, year 2. I talk all the time about that. You're never going to really find a Mahomes type guy who can come in his first year and take a team all the way far in the playoffs. It just doesn't happen in the NFL. So to me, I just like the upside of Richardson compared to Bryce Young.
Maria, can I say something?
Please, by all means.
Number one, what Simon said is really interesting because CJ Stroud won't have anyone to throw to. And so that is the same argument about how Josh Allen got so good, is once he had Stephon Diggs, he went from being a good athlete with a promising arm who couldn't hit a receiver to being a guy who was much more accurate and is a top 2 quarterback in the NFL because he all of a sudden had a guy who made him look better. So now we will see with Justin Fields, can DJ Moore do the same thing for him? Number 2, and we'll get that, and that will be the same path that we will probably see with CJ Stroud. Number 2.
Okay.
Number 2. Simon's point that you don't care about what a guy does in year 1 or year 2 is preposterous. You have to know what you're getting into a guy in the second year because you need to know, am I going to want to re-sign this guy? How am I managing the salary cap? Who am I going to bring in? Because my window to win now is with a guy who is on a good rookie quarterback contract. And that's me.
Are you done? Okay. Because I feel like you're contradicting yourself just a little bit because
oh no, I'm not.
Because again, Simon said that a lot of times you don't see the true power of what the quarterback can do until maybe year 2 or 3, and you get.
I'm glad someone's listening.
Because that's kind of the trouble with this draft process all around is teams are so desperate for quarterbacks that they're going to pick them way too high because they need them. But then you're getting drafted to teams that are horrible. And unless you are like a Mahomes, which was mentioned, or like a Joe Burrow, where you can step on the field and just make an immediate difference, like chances are that quarterback is going to struggle.
I can't believe it took about a month for you to turn on me and side with Unbelievable.
Now, I'm just being the casual observer. I am unbiased here.
Unbelievable.
This is objective. Both making very good points, but I think you actually might be agreeing more than you think or more than you normally do. But let's move on here. I want to dive a little deeper into the 3rd overall pick because the Cardinals don't need to pick a quarterback. Simon, what are you hearing and what's your approach to betting with this pick?
Well, it just seems like, unlike most years, by now we kind of do know exactly who will be the top couple of picks, and we're just seeing a lot of shuffling around. So we all assume it's CJ, right? CJ's up to minus 300 in most books now to be the first pick. We're assuming it's going to be Bryce Young, the second pick with Houston. It seems like the ownership is the ones that are making the pick there, and they like Bryce Young the most. They think he's the most ready. The interesting part about this 3rd pick is, like you just said, Arizona doesn't need it. Now, it's crazy to think this, but all of a sudden you look in the AFC South, everyone's looking up at the Jaguars. The Jaguars have a young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. So we're kind of seeing all these teams get really, really aggressive for their next piece. So we already have Houston in the 2 spot. That 3 spot now we're hearing it might be Tennessee. Who are they jumping? The Colts. So I don't know if we've ever had this in a division before with all these 3 different teams in the same division, all fighting over 3 different quarterbacks. That's what might be happening here. So to me, you can get 230 plus 230 right now at Tennessee to take Anthony Richardson at that 3rd pick. I like that value. If you just want to instead just do his pick them straight up, if you want to go Tennessee to take him, I think it's minus 180 for him to be the 3rd pick overall. But you can bet Tennessee will trade up to make that pick. We've seen Tennessee now at every pro day. We saw Vrabel talk about he really liked this QB class, and I don't think they really think Tannehill is the answer, right? They had the 1 seed. They gave opportunity to Tannehill at home as the 1 seed. He blew it against that Bengals team. So I think they're in a position now of, okay, we'll have a stopgap year in Anthony Richardson. We can go with Tannehill this upcoming season. So to me, it makes sense now. We're hearing all the rumors of this 3rd overall pick going to Tennessee. Another team you wouldn't be shocked to sneak in there is the Raiders. They have Jimmy G, another good quarterback to take over for this year. They're plus 430 to have that third pick overall. So it is interesting, all the rumors and drama we're hearing. For me, I think Tennessee's the play. I think in that division, they want to get young. That's a nice spot for them to trade up, get the quarterback of the future in that position, and have Tannehill take it for the year. So plus 230 right now, that's my bet for the third pick overall is the Tennessee Titans.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Before I let you guys go, I did want to talk about a report today that Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter is not visiting with teams who hold picks outside the top 10. Chad, what do you make of this?
Why would he? This is a guy who was going to go number 1 overall before some of the legal troubles entailed in the fatal accident earlier in the year involving one of his teammates after the Georgia won the national title. Obviously, he has dropped since then, and had some pretty bad workouts too. But on most big boards, he's about, the average position is 6th. And it would be higher if you took out Todd McShay, who has him at 13. Most other people have him in that 3 to 5 range. Also, in most mock drafts, his expected draft position is about 7. So between those two things, there's not a real indication that he needs to meet with teams outside of the top 10. So I can understand the position entirely.
I agree with you too. And I'll add this. I kind of feel bad that some players feel obligated that they have to visit with every single team and travel to every club. And especially for him and his specific situation, you might just not feel like rehashing everything to every single team. I don't know about the need for his agent to say that they're declining to meet with every team that doesn't have a pick outside the top 10. So I don't know, Simon, how do you feel about that?
I think his agent's Drew Rosenhaus, so that kind of makes more sense when you hear that he's the one that's saying that. But yeah. I think it's kind of what Chad's talking about of there's teams that literally have taken him off their draft board, apparently. I've talked to a couple guys who've talked to a couple different teams. They want nothing to do with the kid. They think he's got character issues, and that's a big flaw to them where they're trying to build something, an organization. They don't have the leaders, I guess, they view to take him. Eagles, as an Eagles fan, I would love for them to draft this kid. Like you have him with a guy like Fletcher Cox, who's been in the league for a long time. That's the kind of team you want to take him, but I don't think he'll make it there. I think the Bears would easily take him at 9. They'd be happy to grab him. But we've seen his over-under at 7.5. So I would say if you want to fade the public, you want to take the under. The public is going to be all over the over of 7.5, just because I think a lot of people follow McShay in his mock drafts, but just the general public, it seems like, is out on this kid going in the top 7. So if you want to go contrarian, you kind of got your play. It's the under 7.5. Right now, the public likes the over of 7.5.
Very good advice. And our first real draft conversation here on Green Dot Daily with myself, Chad Millman, and Simon Hunter. I know it won't be the last. And if you want more of Chad and Simon, be sure to check out the Favorites Pod Tuesdays and Thursdays this week. They'll be talking Masters in addition to the NFL draft. Guys, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you.
Speaking of the Masters, which gets underway on Thursday, check out the odds leaders going into the tournament. Rory McIlroy tied with the defending champ Scottie Scheffler at plus 700, followed by Jon Rahm at plus 900. And for more on the favorites in the field, here's our Action Network podcast crew.
Evan, I went back and I was looking at favorites over the last 10 years. You went way further back than I did, and you looked at the performance of favorites here at Augusta since 1985. I don't even know where you found this data. I want to know your database at least. Where did you get this stuff?
Sure. So let's just look at kind of the more recent, because it's been an absolute roller coaster when you talk about the betting favorite. So the Masters favorite hasn't cashed the top 20 last 3 since all 3 JT, Spieth, and Rory in 2018. So it's been a bad stretch recently. But if you go beyond that, between 2013 and 2018, every favorite and every co-favorite cashed the top 20. So to me, it's just kind of a noisy trend. It depends who's on top. It kind of depends like on the year itself. The thing that I found was interesting when I went back, and I think this is the one thing you look at, is what about favorites to actually win it? So the Masters betting favorite to win the tournament, literally Tiger in 05, Tiger in 02, Tiger in 01, Tiger in 97, and then you had Fred Couples in 92, and that's it. So those are the only times, and it hasn't happened since 2005, where that person actually went out there and won the tournament. So we're going to see how it goes this year, Chase.
Look, I never like chasing favorites. I'm not too far down the board this week, but whether calling Scotty Scheffler the favorite or Rory McIlroy a co-favorite alongside of him, depending on the book this week, Nick, are you buying in on a favorite here at Augusta this week?
As of now, the shortest player I have in my outright card is Patrick Cantlay at 25-1. So I'm seeing him get steamed at some books. He's shorter than 20-1 right now. So no, in terms of like the Rory, Scotty, and John Rahm, if you want to call them all pretty much the co-favorite there. If I had to choose one, I think I would go with John Rahm. I'd prefer Rory gets the Grand Slam, but I don't love where his game's at, and I do like the price discount with John Rahm, but no, I'm not going to be betting any of the three co-favorites, if you want to call it that.
I will have some Rahm. I have some Rahm already when before he started getting hot earlier this year. 5 wins in his last 12 worldwide starts. He's never finished worse than 27th here. I might pay the Rahm money just to be here and watch Rory win the career slam, which I think would be really cool. But man, Rahm's got that little chip on his shoulder. And I would not be surprised, guys, if those odds are posted to his rental house refrigerator this week, looking at the fact that Scotty and Rory have shorter odds than the guy who not long ago was number 1 in the world, not long ago was a guy that everybody was talking about.
We now bring in Tim Kalinowski and Charlie DiSturco from the Gamblin' and Ramblin' pod. And before we talk Masters, need a quick reaction from you guys on UConn's run to the title. Charlie, congrats to you. You have won our office bracket pool. You correctly predicted UConn cruising last night. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I just, thank you for that little victory pat on the back right there. UConn, they're a freight train from hell, I like to say. They absolutely dominated everybody along the way. And anyone that doesn't think that this is one of the most dominant tournament runs that we've seen is out of their mind. The Huskies, what a performance. It was a snooze fest of a game because of how much better they were than San Diego State.
Right. 6-0 against the spread, I believe, for UConn throughout the tournament. Tim, what did you make of the Final Four? Because I know you were a little iffy about the matchups going in.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up being right. Look, I make so many takes a day. You kind of get lost in the take universe here, the take solar system. But I think we were bang on in saying that, hey, I wasn't too excited about this Final Four. I did bet UConn last night. I was talking, I laid -7. I'm like, I never, not one time was worried at all. Charlie was like, yeah, it was kind of a game. Like at one point, I'm like, yeah, for 5 minutes. I mean, for San Diego State, just to score, it was such a grind. It was like thinking of getting points with my mom or getting in her good graces. Like, I gotta go to the dentist, I gotta go to the doctor, I gotta go get gas for the grill, I gotta deliver a gluten-free muffin to my nana, email our tax lady, empty the dishwasher, all to maybe have her say good job. So that was like San Diego State trying to score points last night. That's what it felt like.
Wow, quite the analogy. Good thing you had the women's Final Four to keep you entertained over the weekend.
That was the show. That was the show.
It was by far and away better than the men's.
Wait,
Final
did
Four
either of you place any bets on the women's side?
Yep, LSU plus 3.5.
Wow, look at you. Well done.
I was on the Hawkeyes against South Carolina. Against South Carolina, not against LSU though.
Smart. That deserves a golf clap, which brings me to the Masters, because it's Masters week. And so, by the way, I just learned this. I don't know where I've been, but apparently one of the traditions at the Masters is the Champions Dinner, which takes place the Tuesday of tournament week. So just FYI, last year's winner gets to pick the menu. Scotty Scheffler went with a Texas theme this year. So you got sliders, you got firecracker shrimp, tortilla soup, ribeye or fish main course, and a chocolate chip skillet cookie, which I love. Pretty darn good. But I'm going to give each of you guys a chance to sell me on what your meal of choice would be. Tim, you want to go first?
Oh, okay. All right. I guess I drew the short straw. I'm going first. Yeah. Look, there's been some famous and infamous Masters dinners. You go viral if you have one that's just as bad as the ones that are good. So, for me, hey, I went with what I'm from a coastal town. I like surf and turf. So for apps, went with the fried calamari. I'm a huge calamari guy. Soft pretzels, dip it in some honey mustard, and then the main course, we're going fillets. I know people say that like a ribeye can be better than a fillet, but we're going fillets and then grilled lobster tails, sides of mac and cheese, asparagus, and what else I see here? Oh yeah, waffle fries. And then for dessert, that's really where what I care about. I don't say no to sweets. I'm coffee with some Schwoyadel, some churros, and then a build your own cannoli station because ice cream is overrated. And I don't know if Charlie will have wine on his list, but I had wine on my list as well, Charlie.
Oh, I didn't know that alcohol was like a choice that you could add on this menu. I was told food. I was told food.
Charlie, do your homework. Go look at some past menus. Sometimes they say a red and a white wine.
Oh, well, I would have thrown that in too. I will say you're criminal for not having pretzels with cheese dip too. I mean, honey mustard and cheese. You got to have the cheese.
Yeah.
All right. I'm taking notes. And so I can make a proper choice of which one I would prefer. Charlie, you're up.
All right. So I went with a family style appetizer to start, right? You want everybody in the Masters to enjoy their dinner. So I went with buffalo chicken dip with chips, a meat and cheese platter. We're talking mozzarella, we're talking cheddar cheese, we're talking salami, we're talking all the fine Italian delicacies. And then, of course, my favorite snack to have, mac and cheese. I had mac and cheese for lunch today to get in the mood for this little shindig we're going on here. And so that's my appetizers. And then that goes right into a nice salad. You get your choice of Caesar salad or a blue cheese wedge, whatever fancies you. And then main course, and this is, bring it all home for the Italians, chicken franchise and chicken parm, your choice over pasta. I mean, you need to get the pasta over linguine, however you want it. I got you. Gnocchi, whatever you want. We got you there. And then for dessert, I didn't know that we could do drinks and stuff. I would have done coffee or some maybe like an espresso and some liquor. But New York style cheesecake is my dessert because, you're a New Yorker. You got to enjoy the cheesecake or cheesecake.
Wow.
So that's my meal.
Well, first of all, I have to say, well done by both of you. That was very thorough, very thought out. I'm actually really hungry now, like just had like a hunger pain. Listening to that, I think I know who I would go with though. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised because there's been at least 2 or 3 occasions in the New York office where I've ordered the same lunch as Charlie. And I'm sorry, Tim, I didn't even think of this prior. So I'm sorry. I didn't even think of this potential bias. But I mean, your menu, Charlie, sounds right up Maria Marino's alley. First of all, again, sorry, Tim, I'm not really a big seafood gal. I'm sorry about that. But first of all, charcuterie, love me like a charcuterie board. Buffalo chicken dip, so good. Chicken parm, Italian, pasta, and then the cheesecake. I'm all about Charlie's Champions Dinner. So Charlie, as of right now, you are my Champions Dinner of choice. Tim, your rebuttal.
If you don't like seafood, you need to grow up. Okay.
You're right. I do. I'm a child.
Like what? What? You might as well just go have your Masters dinner be, Annie's mac and cheese and, and grilled cheese. Like what?
Yeah,
I'm astonished. I'm astonished. I guess you didn't want to have a glass of wine either at this one. So, have fun at Charlie's, sober hour over there.
Hey, don't you wait. I'm going to bring the wine back. We're going to be tossing it around. That's a BYOB from DiSturco. I won the Masters.
BYOB.
I won the big championship. I won the big bag. I'm going to be bringing the alcohol myself, but the Masters, they can get all the food straight.
I got to say, this was not the way I planned it, but Charlie, you get all the accolades today. I gave you the shout out about your picks, about your bracket, and now you have the meal of choice from me. So Sorry, Tim. Well done. Good job. Good effort.
Green Dot
Nice
Daily.
try.
Green Dot Daily rigged. Green Dot Daily rigged.
Nice try. Better luck next time, Tim.
All right. I guess we got to say goodbye now. I'm going to go get some food. Tim, Charlie, always love having you here on the show. Until next time.
Yeah, can't wait.
As a reminder, every pick you hear about on our show, such as what we got from Matt Moore earlier on the NBA slate, you can find all of them by following Green Dot Daily in the Action app, a really easy way to watch the show as well as it pops right up when we're on. And Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets. If you don't win your first bet, terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's all for this episode of Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. Thanks so much for hanging with me, and I'll see you again Wednesday at 3 Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action app.